Hair is so big. Hey guys, it's Malina here. It's definitely been quite a while since I've done one of these videos. Life's been kind of crazy. House sitting has been kind of crazy. Adjusting to this new way of house sitting post-pandemic has been really interesting as well. It definitely feels like with work kind of shifting to a lot more remote jobs, people are more interested in kind of taking advantage of being able to work from anywhere. And I think that the interest in house sitting is already going up. I think it's just going to continue with people really being able to have more flexible work schedules. Chances are that you stumbled on this video because you are interested in traveling cheaper. Maybe you already know a little bit about house sitting or you're just curious what the ins and outs are. This video is all about some of the most frequently asked questions that I have gotten about house sitting. So let's get started. Something I get asked a lot is how did I get involved and started house sitting? I have a video about why I started house sitting that kind of goes into detail about it. But long story short, I really wanted to be able to kind of build my own type of lifestyle, I guess. You know, being able to kind of do what I want when I wanted. I never really wanted to work in a cubicle, like the 9-to-5 life. A couple of years previously, my mom had sent me this article about house sitting. And so my first thing was kind of just like taking baby steps with it and, you know, getting into it more. So I think people are just kind of confused what it really is, what you're doing, because there are so many different types of house sitting. The house sitting that I do is specifically for travel house sitting. Think of it like a place that you would really want to go and you would have to pay for a hotel or an Airbnb. Essentially what you're doing instead is staying in somebody else's house. Most of the time you're taking care of some pet, collecting their mail, watering their plants. I always tell everyone the type of house sitting that I do is really like what you would do for your friend or your neighbor. You want it to feel kind of like it is a fair trade. You know, what you're getting out of it and what they're getting out of it is really equal. You guys are both doing kind of a favor for each other. Kind of the reeling off of that long question that I just had, that question, is it paid? Form of house sitting that I do, no, it is not paid. Are there platforms that you can do paid house sitting? Yes, there are. The platform that I use, and you can get a great discount code in the description box below, is TrustedHousesitters. To me, it feels really safe. There's a barrier to entry for both homeowners and house sitters to join. You have to pay a fee to be a part of the platform. The platform has a lot of different safety features kind of built in. You know, they do background checks, they do a license check. The whole platform is based on reviews. Safety, I think, is such a big thing if you are, you know, having somebody else stay in your house, or if you are staying in somebody else's house. You want to feel that sense of safety. Okay, moving on to another question that I get a lot. How long are these house sits for? There are house sits sometimes that are just a couple days, and I have done a house sit before that was 4 months long. I found it really beneficial to kind of stack house sits up right next to each other if there is a lot, you know, a large airfare involved. So for example, I just went to Malta, and then right after I did a house sit in Paris, and then now I am in New York doing a house sit. I would definitely say places that have a higher airline cost, that is when you know, should really plan out better. Try to do house sits that are longer term, you know, make sure it's worth it to kind of go over there if you can get like a couple months sit. I kind of made that error when I first started. I was like, oh my gosh, I can go to all these places, boom, boom, boom. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm spending so much money in flights. This isn't very sustainable. Planning in advance for those international sits, I think, is really beneficial and kind of making it worthwhile. Another question I get a lot, do I have to be there the whole time? Most of the time, people, it's, you know, kind of your normal life. It's your normal setup with a house sit. You know, you come and go, make sure the animals are okay. I've never been in a situation where I couldn't leave the house or something. A lot of it is just, you know, being open, honest, trustworthy. And I think that's why it's so important when you are applying for these house sits, when you're doing those initial conversations, that you're really open about what your lifestyle is like, what you really want to do while you're there, and you just already create kind of that friendship type of relationship to have those kind of discussions. Can I bring somebody with me? Is it just by myself? I have found the main thing is people just want to be in the know. If you are wanting a friend to come for even like a weekend or a family member, in my experience, it's just kind of asking them, letting them know like, hey, you know, my friend is interested in coming this weekend. I just wanted to run that by you. If you want to talk to them first, if you're not comfortable with it, you know, let me know. I try to kind of talk about that in my initial you know, interviews with the homeowner of like thinking, okay, you know, sometimes I do have somebody come, like, how would you feel about that? How would we handle that? At that point, you don't even know if you're going to accept it yet. So it's reasonable that you haven't actually, you know, asked that person or worked those details out with that person, but just kind of keeping people in the loop, you know, I think that's the most important thing. Okay, another question that I get a lot of questions about is liability. What happens if something goes wrong with the house? What are you responsible for? Does that worry you a lot? I think that's something reasonably a lot of people are worried about. The liability factor was probably one of the things I was most stressed out about, and is one of the reasons I went with Trusted House Sitters as well. They have, you know, built-in insurance. But beyond that, that is also why I like to really talk to somebody before I do a house sit, and why I like to go the day before, kind of go through their house and go through all of their ins and outs of the things, you know, anything that might be wrong. It seems like there's always stuff wrong with people's washers and dryers. Kind of just going over that with them, especially in the first couple days as I'm going through anything. Always make sure to bring it up with the homeowner, send a picture, detail it. Just, you know, in the case that if you would need proof. I have never run into any issues with that. You know, fingers crossed that I never do. The more reviews a homeowner has, the safer you feel. How do I find these house sits? How do I find a house sit? There are a lot of different house sitting websites that you can use. As I said kind of at the beginning of this, the house sitting service that I use is called Trusted House Sitters. There is a big discount code below to join if you would like to check it out. But there are a few other services that you can check out based on your individual needs and kind of what you are interested in getting out of house sitting. Here are a few of them, and I also have links in the description box below. Another question that I get, can I house sit as a couple or a family? Absolutely, there are all different types of house sits. House sitting is such a good option for families specifically to kind of have that space of a house if you are traveling somewhere versus having to pay for an Airbnb or a hotel that's big enough to support your whole family. Here's another question. Can I bring my pet with me on a sit? Again, yeah, I have done a sit. I brought my former Chihuahua, my grandmother has now stolen him. I brought him with me on a sit to Alaska, and it was the best. It was so much fun. To be totally honest, I think it does work better if you don't have a pet to bring with you. I think you have a better chance of getting the sit, but especially for those longer term sits, I think people are a lot more willing to kind of accommodate you, because it is hard to find somebody to, you know, come and stay in your house for 4 months, 5 months, something like that. Another question I get, who pays for travel to a sit? I've definitely had the situation where a homeowner pays for my Uber to and from. They let me have their car while I'm there and, you know, leave me gas. But I have never had a homeowner offer to or ask to pay for a flight, because the understanding there is you are wanting to go to that location anyway as a tourist kind of. If that was something that you weren't interested in doing, they could find somebody closer, but that's kind of something that you're wanting to do, if that makes sense. What are my chances of getting a sit? You know, how hard is it to get a sit? I think that's a question that I do get a lot. The house sitting service that I use, Trusted House Sitters, is totally review based. So the more sits that you do and the more reviews you get, your credibility goes up. And then I would also say, you know, your chances of getting a sit are improved tenfold if you actually read the description. You send them a personalized, detailed initial email. And I have a template below if you want to check it out. They are more willing to respond. They feel like you are, you know, really taking that time to connect with them, and you already have that kind of layer of credibility with them as well. Why would you want to do this for free? You know, what is the deal? I was in Alaska, you know, on and off for a year. There's no way I could have done that if it wasn't for a house sit. Being in a place, living like a local, you wouldn't have the opportunity to otherwise. I think that's a really fair trade, and that's just for me. And especially as a solo traveler, I think that there's also an added benefit of having a pet there with you. It makes you feel a lot safer. It makes you feel a lot more like you're in a home. You know, you're not in this hotel type of an atmosphere. You're really kind of living there. I think that's really a huge benefit. The experience I would say that you really need to start out is you need to think of either people that you have babysat for in the past, watched their house for in the past, maybe somebody you've worked with, somebody that has kind of entrusted you with something before. They've seen your work ethic, your character. You get reviews from those people, and there's a way to kind of add these outside references, you know, send an email to them and then add them to your profile to kind of get started. These really desirable places to house sit are super competitive. There are definitely places where there are always tons of house sits. Trusted House Sitters, I think, is actually based in Brighton in England, and there are tons of house sits in England. And then also there are some, you know, places if you look nearby your city. I think that's a really great way to kind of build that experience, build that credibility as well. I feel like there are a lot of questions that I could cover here. There are a lot of questions that I get about house sitting in general. I'm gonna say there will be a part 2 for this frequently asked questions kind of video. That being said, if you want to add any questions for that part 2, please feel free to add them in the comments below, and please subscribe if you are interested in seeing any more of these videos. Let me know what I need to do better the next time, what you want to see the next time. I know a lot of people said audio quality on some of these videos were not the greatest. I hope this one is better, but there are a lot of dogs right now making a lot of noises and chewing on their bones, so it's part of the life that I lead. So sorry about that, and thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time or something. Bye.